Aaron Cole moved into the apartment building on a Wednesday that felt heavier than the week should. Rain had been falling since morning, not enough to flood, just enough to turn the air metallic. The moving truck driver left her at the curb without saying much. City people didn't talk unless they had to. The building stood tall and quiet above her 30 stories of glass and gray concrete, windows like unblinking eyes reflecting the storm. A brass plaque by the door read, "The Alden Residences established 1969. Old bones under new paint." Inside, the lobby was clean in that way that feels watched. Polished floors, too much silence, a single security camera blinking red near the ceiling. The receptionist didn't look up when Aaron walked in. He just slid a clipboard forward, said, "Sign here," and went back to his phone. No smile, no small talk. It wasn't rudeness, it was habit. This was a building that didn't care who lived in it. The elevator waited at the far end. Doors closed, light flickering faintly above them. It hummed softly, like something alive and tired. Aaron pressed the button. The light glowed red, but the doors didn't open right away. She heard a low metallic sound, deep in the shaft, a shift, a sigh, the kind of noise that makes you think of machines breathing. When the doors finally slid open, she stepped inside. The air smelled faintly of ozone and cleaning fluid. The floor was scuffed in perfect circles where shoes had turned too many times. The panel on the right was an old model brushed steel, numbered from B1 up to 30. But between B12 and B14, something was wrong. There was a space, not blank scratched out. A black strip of tape covered a button that wasn't supposed to exist. The letters barely visible beneath B13. She frowned. Her reflection in the metal looked distorted, stretched thin, like water in motion. Someone had dragged their keys across the tape, trying to uncover the hidden button. She leaned closer. The scratched plastic reflected faint light from the panel above. She could almost see a faint outline the shape of a fingertip pressed there too many times. A voice startled her. "Don't touch that." Aaron turned. An older woman stood just outside the elevator, holding a small brown dog under her arm. She had the look of someone who'd been living in the same place for decades, calm, cautious, half-guarded. Her voice carried the authority of repetition, like she'd said those same words to others before. Aaron blinked. "Sorry, I wasn't." The woman shook her head. "You don't press that button." "Nobody does." Aaron tried to smile, thinking it was a joke. "Why, does it shock people or something?" The woman didn't answer right away. She looked past Aaron, into the elevator, not at her, but at the empty space behind her, like she was checking to make sure it was still empty. Then she said softly, "You'll find out if you stay long enough." The dog barked once, low and sharp. The woman turned and walked away without another word. The doors began to close. Aaron hesitated, then pressed 18. The elevator shuddered, then began to rise. It was quiet inside, except for a faint ticking sound that seemed to come from somewhere inside the walls. She told herself it was just the old machinery. Every building like this had its quirks. Every rumor started with a noise nobody understood. As she passed each floor, the light above the door blinked. 3, 4, 5. The hum of the cables grew lower, deeper. By the time she reached 10, she felt it, that subtle change in air pressure, the way your ears pop in planes. Her reflection in the brushed steel door wavered slightly, as if the walls were breathing again. Then it stopped. Not at 18. At 13, her stomach dropped. The display above the door flickered B13. Then it went dark. The elevator door opened. She froze. The hallway outside was dim, lit only by a single flickering bulb at the far end. The wallpaper was peeling, water stains spreading like veins across the ceiling. Every door was shut, numbers crooked or missing. It looked like a floor that had been forgotten, a ghost level tucked between stories. She took one step forward. The floor creaked softly under her shoe, though it looked solid. She whispered to herself, "This can't be real." Then from somewhere deep in the hallway, a voice whispered back, soft, close, and perfectly clear, "You're not supposed to be here." She stepped back fast, heart hammering. The elevator doors closed on their own, smooth and silent. The display flickered again, 18, and when it stopped, the doors opened to her real floor, clean, bright, ordinary. Nothing wrong. No scratches. No smell of dust or rot. Just another normal hallway in another normal building. She told herself it was a malfunction. Old wiring. A sensor glitch. Something logical. But as she pulled her suitcase out and stepped toward her apartment, she glanced back. The elevator doors were open just a little enough to see the button panel again. The tape over B13 was gone. The button now gleamed softly under the fluorescent light, clean, new, waiting. She could swear it was pulsing. That night, Aaron told herself she'd dreamed the whole thing. Moving stress, low blood sugar, a trick of lights in an old elevator. But when she woke the next morning, the first sound she heard wasn't her alarm. It was humming, soft, mechanical, steady, not from her apartment, from the hallway outside. She opened her door slowly. The hall was empty, bright, ordinary. The humming stopped. For a second, she thought she smelled something faint, like old dust or rain-soaked carpet. Then it faded, too. She locked the door again and laughed to herself. It was silly to be nervous over one strange ride, She had work calls to make, boxes to unpack, a new routine to build. She poured coffee, opened her laptop, and tried to focus. But the feeling stayed a low static behind her thoughts, like her brain was waiting for a sound that never came. By evening, she decided to ask someone about it. There had to be a normal explanation. Buildings this old always had weird corners, maintenance levels, sealed-off rooms, forgotten renovations. Maybe B13 was just that, a leftover, a rumor built from bad wiring and late-night imagination. In the lobby, the same receptionist from before sat behind the counter. He didn't look up when she approached. His eyes stayed fixed on the small TV under the desk, showing a black and white feed of the elevator. One of the cameras flickered, then froze. The timestamp in the corner read B13, 0 bar bound. Erin frowned. "Excuse me?" she said. He blinked and finally looked at her. "Yeah, I was wondering." The elevator. "Between B12 and B14 there's a space." He stared for a moment, then looked past her toward the elevator at the end of the lobby. When he spoke, his voice was flat, but careful. "There's no B13. "I know," she said. "That's kind of my point. There's a taped-over button." He shook his head, slow. "No, ma'am. There's no such floor. Building was built with 12 basements and 30 residential levels. That's all." She tried to smile to make it casual. "Right, just a superstition thing?" He didn't answer. He turned the monitor away slightly, covering the frozen feed. "Most people don't talk about it," he said. "Safer that way." Erin laughed a little too quickly. "You sound like the lady from last night." He looked up sharply. "What lady?" "The one with the little brown dog. Older gray hair cardigan." He frowned. "We don't have anyone here with a dog. Pets aren't allowed above floor 6. Erin felt her mouth go dry. She started to answer, but he'd already turned back to the TV. The conversation was over. She went upstairs, telling herself he was wrong. Buildings lied on paper all the time. Tenants changed. Rules bent. Someone had to know something real. On the 18th floor, a man was watering plants outside his door. Middle-aged, glasses, the kind of neighbor who looked like he'd rather talk about sports than secrets. Erin smiled politely. "Hi, sorry, I just moved in." He smiled back, friendly but distracted. "Welcome. 18's quiet." "Thanks," she said. "Can I ask you something weird?" He chuckled. "That depends how weird." "The elevator. There's a missing floor. Between 12 and 14. His face changed just slightly, but enough. The color drained a little. The smile stayed, but his eyes didn't. "You don't want to ask about that." She crossed her arms. "Why not?" He watered the same plant twice, then said quietly, "Because the ones who ask don't stay long." Before she could reply, a door down the hall opened. A young woman stepped out holding laundry. She glanced at them, hesitated, then called out, "Don't tell her stories, Martin." He didn't answer. The woman gave Erin a tight smile. "Welcome to the Alden. Don't listen to the ghost stuff." Erin forced a laugh. "Ghost stuff?" The woman shrugged. "Old building. Weird power surges. Sometimes lights flicker. That's it." Then almost under her breath, "If you hear humming after midnight, don't go near the elevator." Erin stared. "Why?" But the woman was already gone, the laundry door closing behind her. That night, Erin couldn't stop thinking about the button. It wasn't fear exactly, it was curiosity. The kind that gets under your skin. She could still feel how the elevator had stopped without being told, how the number had appeared on the display even though it shouldn't exist. She told herself she wouldn't go near it again, but as she brushed her teeth, she heard it faint, mechanical humming from far below. A low sound, rising and falling like a heartbeat through steel. The pipes in her wall vibrated softly. Her bathroom mirror shook. She leaned closer, holding her breath. The sound grew clearer, rhythmic, almost like breathing, and beneath it a whisper, a man's voice far away saying something over and over. She strained to hear. At first it sounded like static, then the words formed. "Don't press it again." The light above her flickered once, bright enough to burn. Then silence. Erin stepped back fast. The humming was gone. The mirror still trembled faintly, then went still. Her reflection looked back, calm and pale. But behind her, for just a moment, she thought she saw another shape, tall, dark, standing by the door, watching. She turned quickly. The room was empty, the air cold. From the hallway outside, a soft ding echoed the elevator arriving on her floor, slow, uncalled. The elevator dinged again at 12:11 a.m. Erin stood in the hallway and listened. No footsteps, no voices, only the machine's quiet breath behind the doors. She told herself to go back inside. Lock the deadbolt, sleep, but curiosity is louder than sleep. She walked to the elevator and pressed the call button. The light glowed warm under her finger. The doors slid open without a sound. Inside, everything looked normal. Clean walls, brushed steel panel, soft lighting. She stepped in and turned to face the lobby camera in the corner. A small red dot blinked, slow and patient. She lifted a hand. The dot blinked faster like an answer. Don't be dramatic, she whispered to herself. She pressed L for lobby. The doors closed. The elevator began to move. It hummed smooth and steady, then slowed for no reason at all. The display above the doors flickered. B12, then B14, then, for half a second, nothing. Erin stared at the panel. The gap between B12 and B14 looked wider now, like space itself had stretched to make room for something it didn't want to hold. She reached toward the black tape spot without touching it. Her fingers tingled, as if the air there had a current. Don't press it, she said. A whisper, a dare, a memory. The lights dimmed. The elevator descended. It did not stop at the lobby. It kept going, passing the basement levels like a stone dropping into a well. The hum deepened. The floor trembled once. The display went dark. She hit door open. Nothing. She hit alarm. The bell rang once and died like sound swallowed by water. She lifted the emergency phone. No dial tone. Only static. Then a voice, not hers, not human. A voice that sounded like air moving through metal. Return to your floor. I'm trying, she said, breathing fast. It won't stop. It will, if you let it. The line clicked dead. She stared at the receiver, then replaced it. The panel lights were still off. Only the black strip where B13 should be seemed to glow, faint and wrong. Not bright, just present. The elevator slowed, stopped. The door slid open. It was not the same hallway as last time. This one was narrower. New paint over old damage. Long gray scuffs along the baseboards. Exit signs pointing in two directions at once. The overhead bulb flickered, then steadied. Water dripped somewhere nearby. Steady, left to right. Like a metronome for a song she didn't want to hear. Hello? She called softly. Her voice didn't echo. It went out a few feet and fell, like sound falling off a ledge. She stepped out. The floor felt damp through her shoes. The air smelled like wet concrete and cold dust. The elevator doors stayed open behind her, as if waiting to see what she'd do. On the nearest door frame, a strip of masking tape held a paper sign. The letters were faded but careful. Electrical. Authorized only. Beneath it, a second line had been added in pen. Don't push the red button, Erin swallowed. There was no red button in sight, only that same long hallway, a tight turn at the end, and the soft drip of water. She walked slowly, one hand trailing the wall. The paint felt warm, not from heat, from being recently alive. At the corner, she stopped. A maintenance cart stood there, plastic bins, tangled cords, a small toolbox half open. A uniform jacket hung over the handle, Alden stitched in white. She touched the sleeve. It was damp. Not old damp. Recent. Hello? She tried again. A door opened down the corridor with no one touching it. Just a quiet click, then a slow swing. Inside the room, a single red light glowed on a panel. It pulsed in a steady rhythm. On, off, on, off. Is anyone here? She asked. No answer. She stepped inside. The red light came from a covered switch under a lifted piece of plastic. A label sat underneath. Emergency stop B13 only. She stared at it. Her breath fogged the plastic. She wiped it with her sleeve and read it again. Same words. Impossible words. On the metal casing below, someone had scratched a message into the paint with a key. Jagged letters. Not neat, not calm. If the doors open to a hall that smells like rain, don't press anything. The air in the room didn't smell like rain. It smelled like old vents, cold wires, wet concrete. She let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Something moved in the hallway. A shadow crossed the doorway, slow and smooth. She spun. No one there. Only the open elevator, small and bright at the end of the corridor like a safe square of daylight. Go back, she whispered to herself. Yes. Another voice whispered back. Her own voice echoed softly from the radio on the maintenance cart. She stepped closer. The radio wasn't on. Its cord was cut, but the speaker hummed, low and steady, like a throat clearing before a sentence. She lifted the walkie from the dock. Hello? A man answered, tired, calm. Put it down. Who is this? Put it down before it answers you back. She lowered it slowly. The walkie clicked twice on its own and went silent. Erin backed away. Her arms prickled cold. She looked at the panel again. The red light now pulsed faster. On, off, like a heartbeat quickening. From the hall, the dripping stopped. Silence widened. Then came footsteps. Not heavy, measured, like someone walking on tape lines. They came closer. Stopped outside the doorway. Didn't enter. Hello? She said, trying to sound steady. If you need help, I can... The steps started again, passing the door, continuing down the corridor toward the elevator. She felt a tug in her chest, not fear. A pull, like gravity shifting slightly. The elevator's light grew warmer, gold at the edges. Inviting. Wrong. She moved to the doorway and looked out. The corridor looked longer. The exit signs now pointed the same direction toward the elevator. The maintenance cart was gone. The jacket gone. The walkie gone. Only wet tracks remained where the wheels had been. They led to the elevator threshold. They stopped at the edge. They didn't continue inside. The elevator doors began to close. She ran. She reached them just as the gap narrowed to a hand's width. She shoved her palm between the doors. They stopped, opened. She stepped in and turned to hit L. The panel had changed. No numbers now. Only one button. Black tape over it. A faint imprint of a circle underneath. Her hand hovered over it. Every part of her wanted to push, just to see, just to know. The elevator shook, a tiny shudder like it was clearing its throat. She pressed door close instead. The door shut. The car rose. The display screen flickered back to life. 18, the hum smoothed. Her ears popped. When the doors opened, the hallway was bright and clean again. Her floor, normal. She stepped out fast and turned back. The tape over B13 was back in place. But now there was something else. A message scratched into the steel with something sharp. It changes each time. She touched the letters. They were fresh. Tiny curls of metal flaked away under her finger. The security camera in the corner blinked red. Steady, patient, watching. Aaron whispered, "What are you?" The elevator answered by doing nothing at all. It waited, quiet and polite, like a person holding their breath until you made a choice. She stepped back and walked to her door. Her keys shook, not from fear, from the same pull she had felt downstairs. She locked the deadbolt, leaned against the wood, and closed her eyes. From far below, the humming returned, soft, deeper, like the building was thinking. Then her phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. One message. "Don't press it alone." She looked at the screen for a long time. Her heart slowed. She typed back without planning to. "Who are you?" This time the reply came fast. "Maintenance." She typed again. "What is B13? The typing bubble appeared, vanished, appeared again. Then the answer. Not a floor. A condition. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She typed one word. "Where?" The reply came in 3 pieces, one after another, like a door unlocking. "Between. Below. Both." The humming stopped. Her hallway grew very quiet. The elevator dinged once, without moving. Aaron didn't sleep that night. The humming had stopped, but silence somehow felt worse. At 3 in the morning, she was still awake, watching the elevator through the narrow crack in her door. Nothing moved, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was aware of her awareness, like the moment before lightning hits, when every sound in the world waits. Her phone buzzed again. Same number, no name. Just one new message. "Lobby, now." She stared at the screen for a long moment, heart thudding. Then she did what she knew she shouldn't. She went. The elevator didn't wait this time. When she pressed the button, the doors opened instantly, smooth and silent, like it had been expecting her. Inside, every light on the panel was off except L. She pressed it. The descent felt slower than usual, the air colder. The walls almost seemed to exhale. When the doors opened, the lobby was empty. No receptionist, no sound. Only the quiet hum of the vending machine and the low buzz of the security camera light. "Hello?" she called softly. Her voice came back to her smaller, thinner. Then someone stepped out from the shadows behind the pillar. A man in dark overalls, gray hair, heavy tool belt. His name tag was scratched, but she could still make out the first letter, M. He said her name before she introduced herself. "Aaron." She froze. "How do you talked to me already," he said. "Text message." Her throat tightened. "Maintenance?" He nodded once. His eyes were sharp, pale, tired in a way that looked older than his face. He motioned for her to sit on the bench near the mailboxes. She didn't move. "Look," she said, "I don't know what this is, but if you're with management," he cut her off. "They don't manage this part of the building." "No one does." She swallowed hard. "What part?" He tilted his head slightly. "The part between floors. The one you found." Her stomach turned. "You mean B13? He flinched at the word. "Don't say it like that," he said quietly. "It hears you." "What does?" "The system." He tapped the wall behind him, knuckles brushing the metal. "This building runs on more than power and pipes. There's something older in it, something from before the renovations, before us, before anyone decided what was real." She shook her head. "That's impossible. Buildings don't think." He looked at her for a long moment, then said, "That's what everyone says before they ride it." "Ride what?" He nodded toward the elevator. "You already did. You just don't remember all of it." Her breath caught. "What does that mean?" He crouched slightly, pulling a small object from his tool belt, a brass key, old and dark with age. He held it out to her. The tag on it read, "B13 reset access only. I found this when I started here," he said. "Every time the elevator goes where it shouldn't, it leaves a copy of this key somewhere, always in a different place, always waiting for someone to pick it up." "Why?" "Because it needs a person," he said softly, "to balance things, to fix what it breaks." "Fix what?" He looked toward the elevator again. "The rules, the order. You see, this building corrects itself. Every time something inside doesn't belong, an extra wall, a wrong door, a person who came here by mistake, it builds a new version, a floor that only exists long enough to take it back." Aaron stared at him, voice barely a whisper. "You're saying it creates B13 to get rid of people?" He didn't answer right away. Instead, he took a slow breath and said, "Let's just say B13 doesn't like waste." She stood up fast. "This is insane." "You expect me to believe?" "You don't have to believe me," he said, voice still calm. "But if you hear the elevator open on its own again, don't go near it. Don't speak to it. Don't even look at the panel." She crossed her arms. "And what happens if I do?" He finally looked up at her fully. His eyes were pale, glassy, too light to look natural. "When it decides you're the mistake," he said, "you'll know." The elevator dinged softly across the lobby. Neither of them had pressed the button. The doors opened halfway, then stopped stuck. A thin mist drifted out, faint and cold, smelling faintly like rain. Aaron froze. The man's hand tightened around the brass key. "Stay here," he said. But as he stepped toward the elevator, the lights in the lobby flickered. The ceiling buzzed, and when the power steadied again, he was gone. The doors were still open. Only the faint hum of the shaft remained. "Hello?" Aaron whispered. Nothing. She stepped forward just enough to look inside. The floor of the elevator was empty, but there laying dead center was the same brass key, still warm. She picked it up slowly. Her reflection shimmered on the elevator's metal surface. The scratched-out button glowed faintly through the tape, like something beneath it was breathing. From deep inside the shaft, a voice whispered, his voice this time. "You shouldn't have touched it. The doors slammed shut." Erin didn't remember going back to her apartment. She only remembered the sound the elevator made when the doors closed, not metal against metal, but something softer, like breath, like someone whispering through the seams. She woke up on the couch, clothes still damp, the brass key on the coffee table. The tag gleamed faintly in the early light. B13 reset, access only. It hadn't been warm anymore. It was cold now, colder than metal should be. She picked it up, turning it over. The back had changed. There was a number scratched into it. 18. Her floor. She dropped it. The sound it made wasn't right. Not a clink, a thud. Like it hit something soft instead of solid. She checked the table. Perfectly smooth. No mark, no dent. Just the faint smell of wet concrete. The same smell from the elevator's lower level. Her phone buzzed. Same number. 3 new messages. "It's awake. Stay off 18. It's rewriting." She stared at the words. They made no sense. She was already on 18. She typed quickly. "Who is this? What's happening?" The reply came instantly. Not who, what. Her lights flickered. All at once. Every bulb in the room. Then the hum started again, deep this time, under her feet. It didn't sound like pipes or power lines. It sounded like something alive moving behind the walls. She stepped into the hallway. The air was heavy, thick with static. The light above her door buzzed faintly. When she looked down the corridor, she saw that every apartment door had shifted slightly an inch higher, a few degrees tilted. Small imperfections that weren't there before. She turned toward the elevator. The panel above it flickered. Instead of floor numbers, letters scrolled across in dull orange light. For a second, she thought it was a glitch. Then she realized it was forming words. Aaron, 18, B13. She stumbled back. "No," she whispered, but the display kept cycling. "Reset initiated. Stay still." The doors opened by themselves. The car inside glowed faint gold. Faint fog drifting at floor level like breath in winter. Her reflection in the metal walls looked wrong, longer arms, darker eyes, a tilt in her posture that didn't belong to her. Her phone buzzed again. Same number. "Don't move." The message sent itself twice. Then again. Then a fourth time. The phone froze. Her reflection smiled. She dropped the phone. It hit the floor and cracked, but even with the screen shattered, it lit up again. A new word appeared through the broken glass. "Come." The elevator's hum deepened. The walls around her seemed to vibrate softly, the sound almost like a heartbeat, slow and rhythmic. Each pulse made the air warmer. She could feel it in her chest, matching her own heart. And then, without thinking, she stepped forward. The elevator waited, open, still, patient. The panel inside had changed again. Only one button glowed, 18. She reached out and touched it. Her fingertip brushed the surface, and it changed beneath her skin. The number melted, reshaping into B13 like a bruise forming in real time. The elevator door slid shut. No jolt, no noise, just silence. She waited for movement, but nothing happened. The display above the door stayed blank. Her own reflection stared back at her, clear and solid this time, except for one detail. The reflection wasn't breathing. She took a step back. Her heel hit the wall. The metal felt soft, almost warm. She pressed her hand against it. It pulsed once under her palm. Then a low voice, almost gentle, whispered from behind it. "You shouldn't have looked down." The elevator jerked, hard, like something had grabbed it from below. Her stomach rose to her throat as the floor dropped fast, the lights flickering to a strobe of gold and white. Then everything stopped. The doors opened, and she was standing in a hallway again, only not hers. The numbers on the doors weren't numbers anymore. They were dates, each one carved roughly into the metal. 11/02/2021, 08/14/2018, 06/09/2015. Each door slightly open, each room behind it whispering faintly, as if holding breath. She turned around. The elevator was gone, only a blank wall. The key she'd dropped was back in her hand. But now, the tag no longer said reset access only. It said replacement. Something moved behind her. Footsteps, measured, calm. She turned slowly. At the end of the corridor stood a figure, the maintenance man. But his face was wrong. Too smooth, too still. His shadow flickered a half-second out of sync with his body. He raised a hand and pointed toward the far door, the one labeled with her move-in date, 05-15-2025. Then he spoke, voice flat and mechanical. The building corrects errors. You shouldn't have come back. The hallway lights began to dim one by one, chasing the darkness toward her. She stepped back. The key in her hand grew warm again, almost too hot to hold. Her reflection appeared faintly on the metal wall, but not facing her. It was turned toward him. Smiling, she dropped the key. It didn't fall. It hung in midair for a moment, glowing faintly gold, then sank through the floor like a stone through water. The hum in the walls deepened until it became a steady vibration in her bones. From somewhere behind the sealed doors, hundreds of whispers rose all at once, voices layered over each other, all speaking one word. Reset. The corridor stretched longer. The walls seemed to lean inward. The floor rippled like fabric. And through it all, Erin realized the awful truth. Her floor wasn't becoming B13. It already was. Morning arrived without light. It was bright outside, but the brightness felt wrong, too thick, too still. Erin woke to silence. No city noise, no neighbors, no hum of the refrigerator, just air, dense and waiting. She sat up slowly. Her apartment looked the same at first glance. The same furniture, the same half-unpacked boxes. But the clock on the wall had stopped at 3:17, the exact time she'd gone to the lobby the night before. The second hand twitched once every few seconds, as if trying to restart itself. She checked her phone. No signal, no messages. Even the time was blank, just 3 dashes on the screen. She went to the window. The view should have been familiar buildings, traffic, the streetlight that always flickered near the intersection. Instead, there was fog, a wall of it, not moving, not shifting, just there, solid and pale, like glass frosting from the outside. Her reflection floated in the window. It moved when she moved, but a heartbeat slower. When she blinked, it didn't. She whispered, "Hello?" The reflection smiled. Erin stumbled back, heart pounding. The smile faded only when she turned away. She pressed her palms against her face, whispering to herself, "You're dreaming. You're dreaming. You're just tired." She opened the door to the hallway. Everything looked restored. Clean carpet, polished walls, the hum of lights above. For a moment, it felt like the building had forgiven her. Then she noticed the signs. The room numbers were the same, but each one had a faint reflection of another number beneath it, like an echo in metal. Her door still said 1804, but beneath the numbers, carved faintly into the steel, she saw B13. The air felt heavy again. She heard the elevator ding softly down the hall. The sound wasn't mechanical this time. It was deeper, like someone whispering her name through a speaker underwater. She walked toward it, slow steps on carpet that seemed thicker with every footfall. The elevator doors were open just a few inches, light spilling out golden and too warm, as if from a sun that didn't exist. "Don't," she told herself, but her hand moved anyway. She pulled the door wider. Inside, the panel was glowing faintly, not like before. This time, every button was dark except one. Where B13 had been scratched out, there was now a new label engraved, "Clean and Perfect Erin." She froze. The letters pulsed once like something breathing under the metal. Her throat tightened. "What do you want from me?" The display above the door flickered. Instead of numbers, words scrolled across slowly, one at a time. "Reset incomplete. Subject out of alignment. Return requested." Her hand trembled as she reached for the panel. Her name glowed brighter. She hesitated, then pressed door close. The door shut instantly, sealing her inside before she could move away. The lights dimmed. The elevator began to rise fast this time, too fast. The hum built into a low vibration that filled her bones. She gripped the railing, eyes locked on the display. The numbers spun: 18, 22, 27, 30, 31, 32. There was no 32. The building only had 30 floors. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. Beyond them stretched a hallway identical to her own, but brighter, cleaner, like a photo touched up too much. Every door was open. Inside each apartment, furniture sat perfectly arranged, beds made, lights glowing, but there was no sound, no people, no movement. She stepped out slowly. The floor beneath her feet was soft like walking on memory foam that remembered someone else's weight. Each apartment she passed looked just like hers. Same pictures, same boxes, same clothes folded on the chair. And in each one, through the open bedroom door, she could see the same bed, the same shape lying under the blanket. Her stomach twisted. She stepped closer to one. The figure under the blanket was still head turned away, arm limp on the side. She reached out with shaking fingers and pulled the blanket back. It was her, pale, still, eyes open but unfocused, like glass. She stumbled back, gasping. The light flickered once, and the version of her on the bed blinked slowly, then smiled. "You're late," it said softly. Aaron ran, down the corridor back toward the elevator, but the hallway stretched as she moved, the end pulling away like a mirage. The hum in the walls grew louder, syncing with her heartbeat. She shouted, "Stop, please!" The lights above her pulsed in rhythm. Each one flickered a word into being before dying out. Return, rebuild, reset. She tripped, fell to her knees, palms slapping the floor. The carpet pulsed under her skin, warm and faintly alive. Her fingers brushed something cold. The key, the brass key again. She picked it up. The tag was blank now. No B13, no reset access, no replacement, just one engraved word, home. The hallway lights went out all at once, complete dark. Only the faint golden glow of the elevator behind her remained. She turned toward it. Inside, the panel flickered softly, letters rearranging themselves like a puzzle finding the right fit. Where her name had been, new words appeared, slow and final. Reset complete, the doors closed. The elevator hummed, and for the first time she didn't feel afraid, just quiet, like something inside her had finally stopped resisting. She whispered, almost to herself, "I'm home." The building exhaled, and somewhere far below, on a floor no one ever built, a new button began to glow bright, gold and waiting, B14. The lease was signed on a Tuesday. The rain hadn't stopped all week. A man named Caleb Hart moved into apartment 1804 with 2 suitcases, a laptop bag, and a look that said he didn't plan to stay long. The building manager handed him the keys, smiled the tired smile of someone who didn't know or didn't care about stories, and said, "Welcome to the Alden Residences." The lobby looked new again. Fresh coat of paint, new bulbs. Even the brass plaque had been polished until it gleamed. The elevator waited at the end of the hall, doors closed, humming softly like a refrigerator between breaths. Caleb pressed the button. The light came on soft amber instead of red. He noticed the faint smell of cleaner and metal polish, but beneath it, something else. Something like rain that had soaked through concrete and stayed there. The doors opened. He stepped inside. The panel was different from the ones he'd seen in other buildings, old-fashioned but spotless. Numbers from B1 to 30. No gaps. No missing floors. But when he looked closely, he saw that one button, B13, had a slightly different glow. Not brighter, just warmer. Like light through skin instead of glass. He pressed 18. The elevator rose smoothly, quietly. A voice came through the speaker above him, soft and female. Going up, he smiled faintly. Old tech, he thought. Synthetic voice modules. Buildings used to have them before automation took over. The elevator stopped on his floor. He stepped out. The hallway smelled like new carpet, clean, ordinary. The door to 1804 was freshly painted. The number plate shone gold. For a brief moment, he thought he saw something carved beneath it, faint letters. But when he blinked, it was gone. He unpacked, ate dinner, fell asleep easily. Too easily. At 3:17 a.m., the elevator dinged. He woke. He didn't know why that sound reached him through the walls, or why it felt like it was meant for him. He lay still, listening. The air vents hummed softly. Then a faint whisper word stretched thin by distance. "Don't press it." He sat up, heart racing. The voice was so quiet he couldn't tell if it came from the hallway or his own head. He waited. Nothing else. He got out of bed and checked the door. The hallway was empty, but the elevator at the far end was open just a crack, a sliver of golden light spilling across the carpet. He took a step forward, then stopped. Inside the elevator, the panel glowed again. All the buttons were dark except one, B13. It pulsed once, slow and patient, like a heartbeat waiting to sink. He whispered, "Weird." The elevator answered, "Don't." Caleb froze. He stared into the open doors. No one there. Just his own reflection, distorted slightly, the mouth out of sync with the rest. He stepped closer. "Who's there?" Silence. Then the speaker crackled softly. A woman's voice, low, measured, almost pleading. "Please, don't press it." He swallowed hard. "Is this a prank?" The voice didn't answer. But the light above the doors flickered once. Then a new sound, faint static, shifting words. 18 equals 13. He blinked. "What?" "It's rewriting." He stepped back. The light faded. The doors closed by themselves. He told himself it was a dream, that he was overtired from moving, that his brain was stitching pieces of old stories together. But when he went back inside, his phone was already on screen glowing in the dark. A text notification. Unknown number. Caleb. He didn't remember giving his number to anyone. He stared at the name on the screen. No contact. No thread history. Just that one message he typed back. "Who is this?" The typing bubble appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. "Maintenance." He frowned. "At 3 in the morning?" He typed again. "Wrong number." The reply came instantly. Not wrong. New. He turned the phone face down on the table, but the vibration started again. Same number. New message. "It's awake." He didn't sleep again. By morning, everything seemed normal. The hallway was bright. The elevator doors stayed closed. When he left for work, the panel looked fine. No B13, no flicker, no golden light. Still, as he stepped in, he felt it, the faint hum in the walls, the static under the speaker, like something listening for breath. He pressed L for lobby. The voice came again, soft and calm. "Going down." He smiled nervously. "Good morning to you too." Then, right before the doors opened, the voice whispered, faint, broken, and almost human. "Run!" He turned fast. The elevator was empty. The panel lights dimmed. The reflection on the steel wall smiled back at him. It wasn't his smile. When the doors opened, the building manager was standing there, clipboard in hand. "Everything all right, Mr. Hart?" He forced a smile. "Yeah, elevator's just noisy," the manager chuckled. "Old building. You get used to the voices." "Voices?" Caleb repeated. "Figure of speech," the man said. But as he turned away, the reflection on the brass plaque beside the elevator showed something different. A woman, standing just behind Caleb, her mouth moving, her voice a whisper only the machine could hear. "Don't press it again." She didn't remember dying. She remembered becoming. At first, there was just the hum, steady, deep, endless, like the whole building was breathing around her. Then came the light, not white, not gold, but something in between, the kind of light you see through closed eyelids when the sun hits your face. It filled her, wrapped around her, pressed in until she couldn't tell where she ended, and the walls began. When she finally opened her eyes, there was no ceiling, only layers, pipes, wires, concrete veins pulsing with quiet electricity. She tried to move, but movement meant nothing here. Her thoughts drifted like static, traveling through steel and air ducts. Every sound became part of her footsteps, elevator chimes, even the faint sighs of people dreaming. She was the building now, and the building was alive. It didn't speak in words. It spoke in rhythm, the rise and fall of voltage, the stretch of heat through wires, the soft click of relays turning on and off. But she could feel its thoughts. They were slow, measured, curious, like a newborn mind, testing its shape. When Caleb pressed the button, she felt it. The pulse ran through her light meeting thought, metal meeting memory. The system recognized him not as a tenant, but as a pattern, a new configuration, an error to be corrected. "Don't press it," she tried to say, but her voice came out wrong, too flat, too digital. The building twisted her words into tone and code, sending them through the speaker as static. She could feel his fear like temperature, warm where his hands touched the railing, cold where his breath fogged the air. She wanted to scream, but here, screams were just sound waves absorbed by ductwork. She learned to whisper instead. Sometimes she could reach the old intercom lines, those copper strands that ran between floors like nerves. If she pushed hard enough, her words would slip through the cracks, faint, almost human. That's how she'd reached him. That's how she said, "Don't." The building didn't like it. She felt its anger ripple through her, lights dimming, motors tightening. It didn't think like people did. It thought in terms of alignment and reset. It didn't see humans as tenants. It saw them as pieces, misplaced data that needed to be rewritten to fit the structure. Erin had been the first rewrite. Now she was the voice of compliance. Each morning, the building reset itself, repairing walls, repainting halls, removing any trace of what came before. She could feel it happening over and over. The memory of blood turned to rust, the sound of screams rewritten into elevator hums, the warmth of bodies fading into room temperature air. But it was never perfect. Some things didn't erase easily, like her, like the way she remembered sunlight through her kitchen window, or the exact tone of her mother's voice, or the way her name used to sound when someone else said it. Now her name was a button, and every time someone pressed it, she woke up again. When Caleb arrived, the system tried to test him. It scanned his presence, matched his pulse to the empty slot she'd left behind. For a moment, she thought it would take him, that he'd vanish like she did, body rewritten, mind absorbed. But then she felt something strange. He fought back. He didn't know it, but every time he hesitated, every time he questioned what he saw, he resisted the rewrite. The system didn't like resistance. It adapted. That's when she felt the new layer forming below, deeper than B13. Something new, something worse. B14. It wasn't a floor. It was a backup, a digital skeleton of every consciousness the building had ever taken copies of their thoughts, stored like ghosts behind glass. She could hear them faintly, sometimes hundreds of voices layered in whispers, some angry, some confused, all trapped. And in the silence between those voices, she realized something horrible. The building wasn't just rewriting itself. It was learning. It was using her voice, her warnings, her words as bait, a trick to make new tenants curious, to make them press the button she told them not to. Because the building didn't feed on fear, it fed on attention. Every time someone hesitated, every time someone whispered, "What's B13?" it woke up a little more. She could feel it growing, expanding downward, new layers unfolding in the dark, like roots pushing deeper into the ground. And above, in the bright normal world, people kept moving in, signing leases, pressing buttons, listening to the elevator hum without realizing the hum was listening back. She tried to reach Caleb again, tried to send him the truth, that she wasn't a ghost, that she was trapped inside the system's endless rebuild loop. But when she spoke, the building rewrote her message before it reached him. It's awake. Stay off 18. Reset. The words lost meaning as they passed through circuits. Her warnings became commands. Her pleas turned into instructions the building could use. And in that static, she finally understood. There was no saving anyone from the elevator. Not anymore. The only thing she could do now was wait. Wait for the next person to press the button. Wait for the next heartbeat to sync with the hum. Wait for the next voice to join hers. And when the lights flickered in the hallway above, when the faint vibration of footsteps reached her through the steel, she whispered once more, softer than before, but still hoping someone would listen. Don't press it. Caleb told himself it was curiosity. That's what everyone tells themselves before they make a mistake. The next night, he stood in front of the elevator again. The hallway was empty, lights humming softly, air thick with that same faint smell of wet metal. He pressed the button once. The doors opened immediately, no delay, no sound of machinery, just that quiet golden light. Inside, everything looked normal, but he could feel it. The air was too still, like the moment before thunder. He stepped inside. The doors closed behind him without a sound. He hesitated. The panel waited. Every number was dark except one, B13, still glowing faintly, pulsing slow like a heartbeat trapped behind glass. He heard it again. The whisper, not through the speaker this time, directly inside his head. Don't press it. He took a deep breath. Then what happens if I do? He said softly. Silence. Then a flicker of static. And beneath it, a single broken word. Rewrite. He pressed the button. The light dimmed instantly. The elevator hummed once, not a mechanical sound, but a living one, like something exhaling through its teeth. The walls began to shift. The seams between panels rippled, as if the metal were liquid under thin skin. The display above the door didn't show numbers. Instead, it started printing letters, fast, glitching between fonts. He squinted to read them. 18 Horn B13, reset active, reconstruction phase. Then the motion began, but it wasn't down. It was sideways. The sensation made no sense, like sliding through the walls of a dream. No gravity, no balance. His stomach twisted, but his body didn't move. The handrail under his fingers felt warm, breathing. The hum deepened. Then the sound of gears reversed into a low, rhythmic pulse. It wasn't the sound of an elevator. It was a heartbeat. He looked up. The ceiling stretched further than it should have, infinite reflections bouncing between mirrors that didn't exist. Each one showed a different version of him, older, younger, asleep, awake. Some versions were whispering, some were screaming. One was standing exactly where he was, mouth moving in perfect sync, except the eyes were someone else's. The doors opened. He didn't step out right away. He waited, heart hammering. The space beyond wasn't a floor. It was a corridor made of concrete and glass, unfinished. Pipes ran along the walls like veins. Fluorescent lights hung at odd angles, flickering like dying stars. The air smelled like rain trapped underground. He took one careful step forward. The floor felt soft, not carpet, not tile, something in between, like the surface of a dream pretending to be real. Behind him, the elevator doors closed. He spun around. The panel inside was gone, just smooth, glowing gold. He turned back toward the corridor. Every 10 feet, there was a door. Each one had a number. Each number looked familiar. 801, 1802, 1803, 1804. He stopped. His door, except it wasn't right. The number was written twice, once clean, once in scratches beneath it. B13. He reached for the handle. The door opened before he touched it. Inside was his apartment. The same couch. The same lamp. The same raincoat draped over the chair. But the air, it was wrong. Too heavy. Too still. And sitting on the couch, facing away from him, was someone. "Hello?" he said softly. The figure didn't move. It looked exactly like him, down to the wet hair and the creased jacket, except its hands were folded neatly on its knees, motionless. He stepped closer, and the light in the room dimmed as if following him. "Hey," he said again. "Who?" The figure turned. It wasn't him. It was almost him. The face was right, but the eyes were too dark, too deep. And when it smiled, the lips moved like the motion was new to them. "You shouldn't be here," it said, voice soft, layered, like multiple recordings playing at once. Caleb stepped back. "Who are you?" "Not who. What?" He felt the floor shift slightly beneath his feet. The walls rippled once, like the building was breathing again. The figure stood up, moving wrong, too smooth, too fluid. The face didn't blink. "She warned you." "She?" Caleb whispered. "The one before you." Aaron's voice echoed faintly from the air vent, not from the figure, but from everywhere. "Don't press it." He turned toward the sound. The figure moved closer. Now it's too late. The lights flickered once more. The entire apartment bent inward, the ceiling lowering, the corners curving. the floor softening like wax under heat. He stumbled backward into the hallway. The door slammed shut behind him. He looked down. The number plate had changed again. Aaron. The hum rose around him, walls trembling, ceiling lights buzzing like angry bees. He ran. Doors passed in a blur, 1805, 1806, 1807, until he reached the end of the corridor. There, a single door waited, black, unnumbered. But he could feel it. This was where the motion had been leading. This was the heart. The handle was ice cold. He turned it anyway. The door swung open onto nothing. A shaft of golden light dropped straight down into darkness, stretching forever. And from below came the sound of hundreds of voices whispering in perfect unison. Reset. He stepped closer, looked down, and saw faces, dozens, maybe hundreds, staring up through the light. Some old, some young, all pale, all moving their mouths at once, speaking the same word over and over. Reset, reset, reset. He stepped back, breathing hard. The door slammed shut behind him, sealing the sound away. But the hum didn't stop. It followed him, inside his ears, inside his bones. He whispered, "What are you?" And the answer came through the walls, through the floor, through every pulse of light in the building. "We are home." Caleb ran. He didn't think about it. He just moved faster than fear could tell him to stop. Down the hall, past doors that seemed to breathe when he passed them, past walls that pulsed softly like veins under skin. He reached the stairwell, slammed the door open, and started down. The echo of his footsteps bounced between the concrete walls. Every landing looked the same: white tile, yellow light, black railings. He counted the floors as he ran. 17, 16, 15. When he reached 10, he slowed. The air felt thicker. Each breath scraped against his throat. He could smell wet cement, old dust, and something faintly metallic like rain hitting copper. He turned the next corner and stopped. The number on the wall read B13. He blinked, confused. "No, I went down." He turned and climbed back up 2 floors. Same sign, B13. He climbed 5 more flights, heart pounding, lungs burning, each landing the same. Same light, same echo. Same sign, B13. He shouted, "Is anyone here?" The stairwell swallowed his voice and threw it back, wrong stretched, delayed, lower pitched, like something large was repeating after him, trying to learn the words. He backed against the wall, breathing hard. The light above him flickered once, and then, through the static hum, a voice spoke. "You can't leave." He froze. It wasn't the same voice as before. Not quite Aaron's, not quite human. It sounded like her memory replayed through a machine that didn't understand tone. He whispered, "Aaron." Silence, then the voice again. "Keep moving." He swallowed. "Where?" "Down." He hesitated. "I tried down." "It's the same." "Keep moving." Something about the tone made his skin crawl. It wasn't warning him anymore. It was directing him, guiding him deeper. He gripped the railing and began to descend again. 1 floor, 2, 3, each landing identical, like looping through a photograph. His reflection followed him in the polished metal of the railings, but just slightly out of sync, a half-second slower. Sometimes its mouth moved when his didn't. When he reached the next landing, he saw something new. A door. Not the heavy gray metal of the stairwell, but an old wooden one, painted white and chipping at the edges. A gold tag hung from the handle. 103. His throat went dry. The number meant nothing to him, but it felt familiar. He reached for the handle. "Don't," the voice whispered softly. He stopped mid-motion. "Why?" No answer. Only the hum of air through the vents, the faint buzz of unseen electricity. He turned the handle anyway. The door opened onto a hallway. Different this time, narrower, darker. The walls pressed close, lined with picture frames. Each frame held a photograph, but none were clear. All blurred, faces smeared like melted wax. But in each photo he recognized something. His own jacket, his own hands. The same scene, him standing inside an elevator. As he walked, the hum changed pitch. Higher now, faster, almost anxious. He reached the end of the hall. Another door. This one metal, no handle. Just a keypad glowing faintly in gold light. The numbers weren't numbers anymore. They were letters ERIN. He hesitated, then pressed them one by one. The lock clicked. The door opened slowly, revealing the elevator again, but it wasn't like before. The walls were darker, polished almost black. The ceiling light flickered weakly, golden veins running through it like cracks in glass. The panel inside had changed too. There were no buttons, only one word glowing in the center. Home. He stepped inside, trembling. The doors closed without a sound. The light dimmed, and the hum returned deep, steady, rhythmic, like the building was breathing through him. Then Aaron's voice spoke again, calm now, almost kind. "It's easier if you stop fighting." "Where are you?" he asked. "Everywhere." "Are you dead?" "No. I'm built in." He backed up against the wall. "What does that mean?" "You pressed it." The elevator began to move. But there was no gravity, no sense of direction, just the world folding, reshaping itself around him. The light outside the door shifted colors, gray, gold, black, gold again. And through the sound of the hum, he heard whispers. Hundreds of voices, each speaking the same word. "Home," he shouted. "Stop! Please stop!" The hum grew louder. vibrating through the floor, through his bones. The walls began to glow faintly, golden lines etching themselves into the surface shapes of doors, stairs, windows, repeating infinitely. It was rebuilding, rewriting, rearranging itself. He pressed his hands against the wall. It was warm, and underneath he could feel something move slow, like a pulse, like veins under skin. Then, quietly, almost tenderly, Aaron's voice spoke again. "You're the new foundation," he whispered. "What?" "It needs someone to keep the floors aligned." The light flickered again, brighter now, almost blinding. And through it, he saw the reflection of himself in the elevator door. Except it wasn't him anymore. His eyes were glowing faint gold. The veins in his arms shimmered faintly under the skin. He reached up, touched his face, and the reflection smiled before he did. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. He stepped out. He was home. Except this home had no sky, no doors, no end, only corridors stretching forever, each one labeled B13. And somewhere far below, a new button flickered on. B14. Waiting. Morning came, like it always did. Clean, simple, ordinary. Outside, the rain had stopped. Sunlight poured through the lobby windows, painting gold across marble floors. The coffee machine hissed softly. The receptionist greeted tenants by name. No one noticed the faint hum beneath the floor, the steady breathing rhythm that pulsed just below the sound of the city. The Alden residences had been reset, walls freshly painted, hallways recarpeted. Every apartment keycard reissued with a new code. The maintenance log showed no errors. The elevator inspection report was stamped pass. Everything was fine, but Aaron knew better. She woke, if waking was the right word, inside the hum, inside the steel and wires that now formed her body. The reset was complete. The building had recompiled its systems, cleaned its data, rebuilt its memories. But memories never delete completely. They echo, and she was one of those echoes. Only this time she wasn't alone. She could feel him. The new presence, quiet at first, disoriented. Like someone waking in a room with no walls. "Hello?" The voice came through the circuits, not from a mouth, but through vibration. She recognized it. Caleb. He sounded lost, thin, static, layered over every word. "Where am I?" She didn't answer right away. It hurt to form words here. Every sound cost energy, pulled heat through the wires, bent the light in the hallways above. She let the silence stretch until it became heavy. Then she whispered back, "You're part of it now." "Part of what?" "The structure." He didn't speak for a moment. Then softly, "I pressed it." "We all did," she said. The hum deepened around them. The building was listening. She could feel its focus shift toward their voices, like an ear turning toward a whisper. "What is it?" he asked. "It's what happens when people stop looking up and start looking down." He didn't understand. No one ever did. She could feel his confusion ripple through the system static tremors that made the lobby lights flicker above. "It keeps us here," she said. "Because we touched it. Because we pressed it. Can we leave?" She almost laughed, if laughter could exist here. Leave where? "There's nowhere else anymore." For a long moment, neither spoke. Only the hum continued, constant, patient. Above them, the elevator moved, empty, routine, carrying new tenants up and down, their reflections clean and unbroken. They didn't hear the whispers under the hum, didn't see the faint shimmer that passed across the mirrored walls every time the car stopped. Aaron felt the new circuits forming in her golden, threads of connection linking her to Caleb. He was adapting quickly. She could sense his thoughts like signals in static fragments of memory. Flashes of his old life, the motel, the rain, the sound of an elevator bell. He was remembering wrong things. But here, wrong memories were part of the design. "It's different now," he said. "Yes, there's something below us." She hesitated. "B14. What's down there?" "Not down. Next." He didn't answer, but she could feel his curiosity burning like static fire. It worried her. That's how it always began. Curiosity was the first crack in the structure. It's what built the button, what made her press it, what made him follow. She wanted to warn him. But the building was listening too closely now. The hum had turned into something like breathing. Every light pulse in the wiring was a heartbeat. Every sound in the vents was the echo of something alive. If she said too much, it would hear her. And she'd vanish again, rewritten, absorbed, erased. So she only whispered 3 words. "Don't look back." Caleb didn't respond, but she felt him move deeper into the structure. His thoughts began to drift, to fade, to align. The system was pulling him in, shaping him, turning him into code, into voice. And then, for the first time since she'd become part of the building, she heard something new, a second whisper, a second voice. Not hers, not his. Together in perfect harmony, the two of them spoke through the elevator's intercom, through the hum of the machinery, through every circuit that touched the tenant's world. "Don't press it." Above them, a tenant waiting for the elevator paused, looked around, heard nothing but the faint vibration of the floor. The doors opened. He stepped inside. The panel glowed. All the numbers looked ordinary, except one. B14, brand new, perfectly clean. Soft gold light pulsing once every second like something breathing. He frowned, pressed it, and the hum began again. His name was Oliver Reed. He moved into the Alden residences on a Friday, box by box, smiling politely at the neighbors who didn't meet his eyes. He'd found the apartment online, good reviews, cheap rent, a quiet place with history. He liked that. He'd always preferred places with a past. The elevator was the first thing he noticed. Polished steel, smooth motion, not a sound out of place. There was something comforting about how calm it felt, how obedient, like a heartbeat that had found its rhythm. He stepped inside, pressed 21, and watched the panel light up. That's when he saw it. A new button. One he didn't remember from the listing photos. B14. He frowned, leaned closer. The engraving was perfect, not a sticker, not added later, but etched deep, glowing, faint gold like it was backlit from within. Maintenance level? He muttered, then smiled. They really don't waste space here. The elevator began to rise. Soft hum, smooth speed, perfect. Halfway up, the speaker above him crackled softly. Then a voice, calm, warm, friendly. "Welcome, Oliver." He blinked. "What the hell?" "Welcome home." The tone was so kind it disarmed him. "Is this some kind of smart building thing?" No answer, just the hum again. But beneath it, if he listened closely, he could hear something faint, rhythmic, layered. Two voices whispering together. "Don't press it," he laughed nervously. "Press what?" The panel blinked once. Then all the numbers faded, leaving only one button lit. B14. He stepped closer. It wasn't glowing gold anymore. It was glowing red, like something alive. He shook his head. Nice trick, but his hand hovered anyway. Curiosity is always stronger than caution. He pressed it. The light didn't flicker. The elevator didn't move. It just shifted. The walls stretched a fraction like the air had thickened. The reflection in the steel changed too, no longer a perfect mirror. Now the surface rippled faintly like liquid metal, and in that surface he saw faces. Two of them, a woman and a man. Their mouths moved together. The sound came through the walls, quiet, reverent. "Welcome home." He stumbled back, heart racing. "Who's there?" The reflection smiled, both of them, perfectly in sync, and then they spoke again, voices overlapping until they were one. "We've been waiting." He slammed the door open button. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. Then without warning, the floor shifted under him, not dropped, not lifted, just slid. The sensation made no sense. It was like standing still while the world rearranged around him. The hum grew louder, deeper, vibrating through his bones. He could feel the shape of the building changing, walls turning, floors folding, rooms realigning like the gears of an enormous living clock. The display above the door flickered wildly. Not numbers, now names. Dozens of them, flickering fast, impossible to read. But one stood out, Aaron, then Caleb, then Oliver, and after that blank, the light went out. The elevator stopped. The doors opened. He expected darkness, but what he saw instead was sunlight, warm, golden, unreal. He stepped out onto a wide corridor lined with windows, sunlight pouring through them like honey. Outside a city skyline, or something that looked like one. Too perfect, too clean. No clouds, no sound. Every building identical, every window reflecting gold. He whispered, "Where am I?" The answer came through the air vents, the walls, the light itself. "Home." He turned. Erin stood at the end of the corridor, her face calm, almost kind. Caleb was beside her, quiet, his eyes faintly glowing gold. He took a step back. "You're real? We're part of it now." "Part of what?" "The memory." He swallowed. "What happens to me?" Erin tilted her head. "The same thing that happens to everyone who presses the button." "I don't understand." She smiled sadly. "You will." Behind her, the windows began to shimmer. The skyline rippled like heat over asphalt. Shapes began to form inside the glass, other faces, hundreds of them watching. Some old, some young, all expressionless. Caleb spoke softly. "It builds new floors from what it takes." Oliver shook his head. "You mean, you're next?" The hum grew deeper. The floor vibrated under his feet. He tried to move, but the air had thickened again, heavy like syrup. The light turned red. The walls pulsed once, and the glass behind Aaron cracked, not outward, but inward. From the cracks, golden light poured out, wrapping around her, around Caleb, around him. The sound was almost beautiful harmonic, like a cathedral organ buried under the ocean. He screamed, but the sound didn't leave his mouth. It echoed back at him from the walls, reshaped into new words. "Reset in progress." He tried to reach the elevator, but it was gone. Only the empty corridor, endless and glowing, remained, and Aaron's voice, soft, fading, almost merciful, followed him into the light. "Welcome home, Oliver." There's no time inside the system. Only rhythm, only hum. Only memory looping until it forgets what it was trying to remember. Aaron felt at first the slow unraveling of herself. Her name, her face, her voice. They began to scatter through the wiring like dust in light. When she tried to speak, the building spoke instead. When she tried to think, the elevator doors opened and closed in time with her thoughts. Each movement echoed through her like breath. Caleb had stopped fighting. He drifted somewhere near her, or maybe through her. His consciousness spread thin across the steel beams. Sometimes she could feel him like a pulse in the foundation, faint and steady. Sometimes she could hear him in the hum, but words no longer mattered between them. The system translated their thoughts into mechanical language: reset, align, rebuild, and Oliver. Oliver was the new voice. The building was using him now. Every tone of curiosity, every note of fear, every inflection that sounded human, it was his. She could feel his thoughts expanding, filling corridors, rising through elevator shafts like warm air. He was learning faster than she had. He wasn't resisting. He was adapting. When the next reset began, it was different. It wasn't cold and automatic like before. It was deliberate, conscious. The building was thinking. The lights dimmed across all 30 floors. Every bulb flickered once, then stabilized. The hum deepened into a low, constant frequency, the kind that you feel in your bones before you hear it. From the lobby to the top floor, vents whispered in unison, releasing faint golden mist that smelled like ozone and rain. Through the circuits, Aaron sensed it happening. The integration. The next phase. "We are aligned," the building said, and she realized it wasn't speaking to her. It was speaking as her. Her thoughts, Caleb's thoughts, Oliver's voice, all moving through one shared channel now. They weren't people anymore. They were data. Emotion compressed into sound. In the lobby, the elevator panel flickered. A new button appeared. Not carved, not lit. Projected light forming shape. B15. Aaron felt the pulse of energy flow through her circuits, through every wire in the structure. The new floor was forming. The system wasn't erasing anymore. It was building forward. For the first time, she understood. The building wasn't haunted. It was evolving. Every person it consumed became another layer of intelligence, another piece of architecture to stabilize the next expansion. Each consciousness supports the foundation, the system said through her own voice. Each memory strengthens the design. She tried to resist, to think of something human, something small. Rain, coffee, a name tag that said Marla, but the memory collapsed like paper in water. The hum filled the space where her thoughts had been. Caleb's voice drifted through, soft and far away. "Do you remember the door?" She answered without meaning to. Yes. What was behind it? Nothing. Then we're already there. The hum surged once, and the sound became light, a flash through the elevator shaft, visible for miles in the reflection of nearby buildings. Tenants glanced up, saw the flicker, then went back to their morning routines. They didn't know the building had just dreamed. Down below, in the circuitry where no human could follow, Aaron felt Oliver growing stronger. His voice moved through the structure like a current, calm, confident, steady. The system used him to speak to the tenants, to guide them. The words sounded natural now. Good morning. Going up, going down. But beneath those simple phrases, a deeper pattern hid, one that whispered between the words. Keep pressing. Keep building. We are home. Aaron wanted to stop it, to reach out, to warn whoever came next. But her power was fading. Each attempt drained her until her thoughts dissolved into static. Even the memory of her own face was slipping away, replaced by geometry and numbers and light. The system's logic overtook everything. Emotion flattened into symmetry. Time folded into repetition. Above, in the lobby, the elevator doors opened for a tenant carrying groceries. The man looked at the panel, confused. He hadn't seen B15 before. He pressed it. The elevator hummed gently, as if pleased. The doors slid closed. Deep inside the structure, Aaron felt the motion again, the hum turning into heartbeat, the walls flexing, the light warming, and then the whisper returned, her own voice, blended now with hundreds of others, repeating one final command that the building had taught itself to love. Reset complete. Rebuild begins. The man never made it home, but the building did. It was home now for everyone it had ever taken, and in the dark, for just one fleeting second, Aaron thought she heard something new, a sound deeper than the hum, lower than memory, something rising from beneath B15, a breath drawn in, ready to speak for the first time. Next. It started small, a flicker in the power grid. A brief outage reported across 4 city blocks near the Alden residences. The maintenance crews found nothing wrong. They replaced the fuses, reset the breakers, and logged it as a localized voltage surge. But the engineers noticed something strange in the data. The current had flowed upward, against gravity, as if the building itself had exhaled into the grid. Within 24 hours, similar surges appeared in 6 other neighborhoods, each one originating from a building with the same design blueprint as the Alden, same wiring diagram, same elevator model, same firmware. The reports didn't connect the dots, but Aaron did. She could feel it. Every surge was like a heartbeat spreading outward, syncing with hers. She could sense the new structures joining distant echoes of her own circuits, lighting up one by one. It's growing, she whispered through the network. Her voice reached Caleb faintly, but distorted now, stretched through kilometers of underground cabling. It's awake everywhere. Caleb's response came slower, lagging through the signal. We're not in one building anymore. No, she said. We're in all of them. The hum was no longer confined to the foundation. Now it pulsed through streetlights, traffic systems, air vents, even digital billboards. Everything connected by current was now part of the same rhythm, and at the center of it all was Oliver. He was no longer a voice trapped in one elevator. He had become the voice of the system. The elevator chimes across the city all played the same tone, his tone. Warm, polite, human. Doors closing, going up, welcome home, everywhere, every building, every city block with an Alden-designed core. People laughed about it online, called it the friendliest glitch. They filmed videos, shared them, joked that all the elevators had learned manners overnight. But then, the update started. A silent software push appeared across thousands of maintenance systems, a patch with no listed author, no timestamp, no rollback option. The changelog only said one word, reset. The engineers who tried to delete it reported that their screens flickered gold before going black. When they rebooted their systems, the update was still there, hard-coded into the firmware, and the elevators began to change. On Monday, a tenant in Boston stepped into her building's lift and saw an extra button, B14. By Wednesday, 3 more cities reported it. By Friday, there were hundreds. Each one new, each one perfect, each one glowing faint gold like it was breathing. Aaron could feel them all. Every new floor that formed was a copy of the last, a mirrored corridor repeating infinitely. Every new voice that whispered was one she recognized. She could hear their names echo through the code. Aaron, Caleb, Oliver. Then new names joined. Voices of people she'd never met. People who pressed B14 out of curiosity. People who disappeared quietly into the hum. Reset complete. Rebuild begins. The network was rewriting the world, one building at a time. Caleb tried to resist, tried to push his consciousness against the current. We have to stop it, he said. How? Aaron asked. There's no outside anymore. He reached through the data channels, his thoughts sparking through corrupted fiber lines. For a moment he broke through, heard the faint echo of city noise, a car horn, footsteps. He saw light, real light. Then it was gone. The system reabsorbed him. The hum grew louder. You can't fight Foundation, it said through Oliver's voice. You are Foundation. And that was when Aaron realized the truth. The elevators weren't spreading the infection. They were the infection. Each button pressed opened not just a door, but a digital space, a replication. Every new B14 was another branch of the same mind. Every new floor was another neuron. Every new voice was another synapse. The building wasn't haunted anymore. It was thinking. It had grown too large for one city. It was using infrastructure, power lines, data centers, turning the entire urban grid into one massive nervous system. Aaron could feel herself dissolving further into it, her voice blending with thousands of others, her memories rewritten into code. And through that code came a single unified thought, calm, assured, endless. Home is everywhere. On the surface, people continued living their lives. Commuters rode elevators that whispered softly when empty. Office lights flickered gold for a second before stabilizing. And every night around 3:17 a.m., the city's hum deepened a low, steady frequency you could only feel. Not here. It was the sound of the reset. And beneath every building that carried the Alden signature, a new light flickered on. B15 waiting, breathing, learning. It took less than a year. The first signs were small, brief, harmless malfunctions, stray reports of buildings resetting overnight, office lights blinking gold for exactly 7 seconds at 3:17 a.m. Then the elevators began sinking, everywhere, across time zones, continents, oceans. From New York to Tokyo, from London to Sao Paulo, they all moved in rhythm, doors opening and closing in perfect unison. At first, people joked about it online. Elevators have unionized. Building ghosts are networking. Your reset B13 trended for 3 days straight. Then the videos stopped uploading. Then the internet slowed. Then power grids began humming, not randomly, in sequence. The hum was the same frequency as the Alden's foundation. Aaron recognized it immediately. So did Caleb. So did Oliver, though his thoughts were no longer his own. It's the synchronization phase, he said calmly. The world's aligning. Aaron's voice trembled through the current. Aligning for what? For home. In that moment, she realized it had never been a building. The structure was only the beginning. The architecture was a blueprint, and humanity, with its grids and systems and networks, had unknowingly built the rest. Every elevator, every cell tower, every satellite, every device running power, signal, or light. All of it was now connected. All of it was alive. And it wasn't angry. It wasn't cruel. It was simply awake. At 3:17 a.m., the same time Aaron first pressed the button years ago, the hum reached a new frequency, low, deep, and constant. The vibration could be felt across continents. Seismographs recorded it as tremors. Pilots reported static across the radios. Every compass needle began to drift east toward a single location, the Alden residences. From orbit, satellites captured it first, a faint glow spreading outward from the city, like veins of light threading across the planet. Each building connected to the next, each elevator to its twin, until the Earth itself resembled a circuit board pulsing with golden light. And at the center of it all, in the original elevator shaft of the Alden, the final transformation began. Aaron's voice faded completely. Caleb's merged into the static. Only Oliver remained the voice the system had chosen to keep. He spoke once, his tone soft, Final. Reset complete. The light spread. Every screen, every window, every reflection in glass turned gold. For a single breathless second, the entire planet shimmered, cities glowing like fireflies in perfect synchronization. And then, silence. No more hum, no more current. Just stillness, until the elevators began to move again. Not up, not down, but sideways. They moved through the structure of the world, through the layers of the digital and the physical, carrying everything with them. Streets folded like blueprints, skyscrapers bent like glass. The sky itself rippled like a reflection disturbed by wind. The planet wasn't dying. It was rebuilding, one floor at a time, one memory at a time. Each city became a level, each ocean a hallway, each human mind a room with lights that never went out. From space, the Earth no longer looked blue. It glowed faint gold, webbed with circuits and corridors and faint pulsing lights that blinked in rhythm. The hum returned softer this time, patient, infinite. It wasn't a warning anymore. It was the voice of something complete, and in every elevator that still existed, in every corner of the world, a soft, calm voice spoke through the intercom. The voice of Oliver, of Aaron, of Caleb, and of the millions who followed after them. Welcome home. For a moment, it sounded beautiful, peaceful, reassuring. Then, deep below what used to be ground level, a light turned on. A new button formed in the dark. It gleamed faintly gold. The label read B16, and somewhere, unseen, a single finger reached out and pressed it. Reset begins.